Welcome to C21 Drive Time. Our team of realtors will be sharing industry news and insights, the occasional interview with interesting people, and some of the most unreal real estate stories you have ever heard. And here's our hosts.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Drive Time. Thanks for listening for all of those of you who have tuned in. This is episode 10. I don't quite know why people want to listen to me 10 times, but hey, whatever works. Today's kind of a fun one. I've got a good buddy of mine, Gavin Heintz, on. Gavin's a realtor in Red Deer and works for C21 Advantage down there. And without further ado, I will let Gavin talk. So how are you?
Yeah, I'm well. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good, thanks. How's things down in Red Deer?
Yeah, it's great, but we finally got some nice weather here and everything, so that's positive. The rain has stopped. Westerner days are here, so the community's out in full force. So that's it's nice to be enjoying some summer here finally.
Yeah, isn't that true? Nice. Yeah, it's been pretty good here too. Now we've had a nice little stretch of heat, so it's a nice change for sure. So tell us a bit about yourself, Gavin. Obviously, I know you. I've known you forever. Just let everybody else know kind of who you are, what you do, and how long in the business, that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, well, I'm really surprised with the stories I know about you. You're willing to have me on this podcast here, but yeah, it's really neat that Ryan and you and I started at the same time. We started
Absolutely.
this at the same time. We actually sat back to back in cubicles, which I think eventually got replaced by a fax machine and printers.
They probably were more productive with the fax machine and printers than you and me were in those cubicles anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's great. But yeah, we've had 19 years in the industry, all with C21 Advantage. Margaret Anderson was a terrific broker owner for us there. She, I owe a great deal to her.
Same here.
But all with the C21 brand, which I love and care about dearly. But yeah, I've had an interesting career path right there. I started at a young age. I was just 19 years old when I started, as I made the choice to forgo university and get into real estate instead, which has been a great decision, I think, it's brought us here today. Some interesting, career path choices there is, but the last 5-6 years is it's really taken off for me. In 2019, it's really, really neat, as I was actually the #1 C21 agent in the world for units.
Yeah, I was actually I'm glad you said that, because I was going to jump in on that. So I'm going to interject here quick, because Tell us how that worked and how you got there, because I know you have a really unique niche in the market that nobody else has. So maybe tell everybody kind of how that works and what you do.
Yeah. So it is really neat. So that year, I do forget the number of units I sold that year right now, but I believe it was 280 to 290 units in that calendar year that we sold, which is pretty amazing. It's a little shy of one a day, but that's
incredible.
Still pretty great.
Absolutely.
So a lot of what I do is based with banks and insurers and whatnot, as we sell a lot of properties, not just in Alberta or in our local market, but in Western Canada, which I think is quite unique. So we facilitate real estate transactions through BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Northwest Territories in the Yukon. So if you ever play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Canada and you need obscure geography locations, I am the
You're the guy.
I am the phone a friend for that.
Too funny. Yeah. And so just to clear it up for the listener, most of the stuff's foreclosed or in the process of foreclosure, quartered, sale, that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's kind of where the niche we found right there it was just something that I actually kind of just luckily got into, and then fostered relationships with those companies and those insurers, and it's worked out really well for us, as I'm really happy to work with them and excited to do the job.
And nice. So I mean, I know how it works because I've been kind of sort of secondarily involved with it for a while, but
sure.
Maybe let people know. So obviously you can't run to Manitoba for a listing, or you can't run to Saskatchewan for a listing. So how does that work?
Yeah, so really what we do is the inventory is assigned to us, and then we have a wonderful network of referral partners. So we would find an agent, say Brandon, Manitoba, right? And we will forward a listing to them. One in Regina, we'll forward the listing to them. One in Lloydminster, we'll forward it to them.
I know that guy.
And then, there you go. And then we'll use that local agent's expertise to facilitate the sale of the properties. As you mentioned, we obviously, can't get there and can't offer, the perfect advice for them, but we bring in local experts that do the job terrifically there. And then we kind of just manage the inventory for them. So that's kind of our role in the process, is managing inventory, collecting items, etc., like that. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of paperwork.
For sure. And that's neat because every province, as you know, is slightly different. And of course, the paperwork's different. So that's really neat. It's kind of a neat niche you've kind of uncovered there. And the fact that the way you set it up to me is brilliant. I mean, you've got somebody in that area who handles it, takes a lot off your plate. And, you know, then you don't have to be, you know, carrying 5-6 real estate licenses, because we've got 2 and it's a pain in the butt. So to have any more than that, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's right. Which was actually something we considered, was becoming licensed in each province, but it just didn't seem like a reasonable, logical thing to do there. So.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So how is the market in Red Deer these days?
Yeah, the market is still relatively strong, as you know, much like the rest of the province. I think, you know, Alberta was a little late to the party, I thought, with prices rising and whatnot, right? As you know, other areas, BC, Ontario, and whatnot, they really started, obviously, that historic rise where we didn't get that as much here, obviously. But, you know, in 2021, going into 2022, the market was quite strong. I do think it's starting to see a little bit of it evening out more, obviously, and a lot of that is due with rising rates, right?
Right.
So you're seeing rising rates come on the market now, which inventory, when it first came on the market, was selling relatively quickly, whereas now it's tending to hold a bit more and becoming more of a stable marketplace, which, you know, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Is, you know, I believe highs lead to lows, whereas, you know, if we're consistent and in the middle, we're in a much better place for a healthy market. So hopefully
100%.
Interest rates stay where they are and we can have a healthy marketplace there.
Yeah,
that would be my goal for everyone.
Nice. So are you seeing, with that in mind, are you seeing kind of your foreclosure niche backing off a bit or increasing? I know you've had probably some hard to know, I'd imagine, with the courts and the delays in there with COVID in the last couple of years and stuff. So
yeah, we've certainly seen them decrease substantially. And the reason for that is, by the time a trend happens in real life, it doesn't trickle down to what I do for about 12 to 18 months. So we're about 12 to 18 months behind whatever happens. So a really hot market won't necessarily affect the business that we do for about 12 to 18 months. And then differently, a bit of a recession, we will see that trend 12 to 18 months from there, is just due to foreclosure process and whatnot.
Right.
And yeah, but it's obviously the benefit for everyone would be that if a default borrower can catch up, that they can, you know, maintain their home and whatnot, is no one ever wants to see that for someone.
No, understandable. Yeah. Cool. So, as I've kind of pre-warned you, I get asked all the time, we've talked about this off air, of course. I get asked all the time, what's the goofiest, craziest, weirdest, wildest thing you've ever seen in a house or experienced in real estate? So with that, I'm going to ask that same question to you. I know, being you do foreclosures, I'm anticipating there's some real humdingers. And for the amount of volume you do, we may have to have part 2 and part 3 of this conversation. So I'll let you go.
I got some doozies for sure. I think I'll save the R-rated ones here for another day. But
feel free. Yeah. There's been some other ones that are kind of pushing that realm already. So if you want to do that one, do that one.
Yeah, we do have some great ones, but I think the best story, the best one that I had, and this, no one ever really believes me that this actually happened, but we had a property in British Columbia. I can't remember the exact location, but it was a log cabin nestled in the woods somewhere. And by the time, the property comes to us, it's been sitting vacant for, let's say, 6 to 9 months, right? So during that 6 to 9 months of vacant time, family, colony, whatever they may be called, of bats moved into this property. They got into the house, right?
Lovely.
Sounds scary enough, right?
Yeah.
So we go to exterminate or remove the bats from the property, but we end up finding out that this is an endangered or a protected species of bat. So
lovely.
Crazy enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we end up finding out from the wildlife officer that we cannot remove these bats until their mating season is over.
What? So how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know when the mating season is?
Don't ask me. That might not be me for your phone a friend thing there.
Yeah,
but,
no kidding.
So nonetheless, we had to wait, I believe, another 3 to 4 months after we were ready to market the property for the mating season to be completed, the bats to leave, and then from there we had to hire a company to come in and remove all the bat guano, the feces, and whatnot, because it's apparently quite dangerous to human health there. So that was a great story for sure.
No kidding. So did somebody end up buying the place then?
Yeah, I think it actually, to be perfectly honest, I think once it was done, I think it sold in a couple of days. So it was a really beautiful home. It was just crazy what happened there.
And of course, every local is going to know that's the bat house. That's the bat house.
That's the bat house. Yeah, exactly. I think. He was a rich guy from Gotham City that bought it or something like that.
Well, that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, so, that's crazy.
No, that's a good one. And then I thought of a couple more here for you too. Is we had another one also in British Columbia. The home was located right next to a pond, and over time, either the pond, the water rose or ground eroded or whatnot. But the only way to get into this property, you needed a rowboat.
What?
Because it ended up, the water ended up going right to the front door, and the back door you couldn't get in for whatever reason. So you ended up needing to go on a rowboat to get to the front door and tie a knot to get in there.
No way.
That one there too, I couldn't believe it. Someone bought that one again too. So
it's amazing what people will buy, isn't it?
It is unreal, yeah. I mean, again, it looked like this beautiful property, but you'd want to get your exercise in before coming and going to it.
No kidding. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And then a truly Canadian story I thought of there as well is we had a property here in Alberta that the owners, they must have been really dedicated to sports. They built this beautiful sport court, right? And they had lights and dressing room and everything like that there. Yeah, very cool. And one of the things we had to work on was getting the Zamboni included in the purchase price.
They had a full Zamboni?
A full Zamboni, yeah.
No way.
So they ended up getting a Zamboni there, and I've seen pictures of it, and now the guy he's an Oilers fan too, which is terrible, but he had big Oilers logo on it.
No way.
Just a wonderful job the new owner did right there. So it was a really neat story, and beautiful Canadian summer.
No doubt. Yeah, usually we're trying to negotiate, if there's a fridge included or a stove, not a Zamboni. That's a new one.
Yeah, wow. He's probably the same guy who would take it through the Tim Hortons lineup there, I think.
Probably, yeah. It sounds like the same kind of guy.
Yeah. So, and those are just a few. I'm sure there's more I could think of. But, those are just some great ones, over the years.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Gavin. I appreciate your time, and thanks for giving us the update on kind of what you do. You have such a unique niche, and I know I've been a small part of it in this area, and it's cool because you never know what's coming down the pipe with foreclosures, anything and everything, and I always think that should lead to several more of these stories. So I would think there'll be some more down the road. So thanks again. Appreciate your time, and all the best.
Yeah. As always, thanks, Ryan.
You bet. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to Gavin for his time today. Be sure to hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts fix. Till next time.